So you should expect fireworks this week as we get yet another inflation read. This time it's going to be CPI. And I promise you, whatever the read's going to be, Trump will have some angry tweet somewhere, right? That's what he does. However, regardless of his anger tweets, I want to go over what's going on, and let's jump right in. These are the headlines. U.S. inflation to rise as higher tariffs feed through. So basically, as you guys know, tariffs are an import tax. They come, goods come on into the country, the importer has to pay said tax, and they're going to pass the cost on to you. I think we know that. For example, in our community, we had this comment today, which is pretty interesting. Today, I saw a coffee maker that used to be $19.99, which is now $49.95. No kidding. And that's coming from Dixie. I'm going to assume this is probably a product from abroad. I don't know, but I'll just assume that, and you can let me know more details on that. However, I just want all of you guys to just share what's going on in your market, what's going up in price, what's staying the same, what's going down. Let us know, because whatever the national numbers end up being may not necessarily reflect your market. Right? That's why I ask you guys what's going on. This is what the headlines do say, though. July CPI report forecast show continued tariff-driven inflation. I mean, this is like all the economists are saying the same thing. We're going to have inflation. It's largely due to the tariffs, and then this where Trump gets really, really mad. And he just runs around and just tells people there's no inflation, everything's great, look at how cheap everything is, and you're all going to be rich from the tariffs. And I'm always like, what delusional land do you live in, Trump? and he lives in the Trump land. But this is what, the official numbers are likely going to be. We're looking at what, 2.9, 3%, something like that. So high 2s to 3. This is a lot different than the Fed. The Fed wants 2% inflation, and we're just not anywhere near that. Then you also have an interesting read from the Bloomberg economist. I'll read this. It says, one reason firms are having trouble hiking prices is that households' real disposable income growth has been dismal, right? So we're talking about real disposable income growth has been dismal. So people don't have a lot of extra money. That's what's saying right here. Running at a third of the pandemic peak, incorporating payroll revisions, because sometimes we revise the numbers, right? Talking about money. We estimate that real income growth actually contracted in June. So this is actually, I'll just say this, it's not good. This is not good, right? Real income growth actually contracted in June, so shrank. Yet nominal retail sales were likely robust in July, okay? We caution against equating a strong headline print with resilient consumption. And this is the question, okay? There's two things you have to think about. One is your income keeping up with prices, right? Is your income keeping up with inflation? And you're gonna know your own situation. Do you have extra money available? Like if you wanted to, buy things for, be it big purchases, small purchases, whatever. If you're going to do entertainment kind of stuff, like do you have extra money available? Even if you do, and you may or may not, even if you do, are you willing to spend said money? So that's why you got to track a couple different things. And this is sort of why we talk about, say, consumer confidence. So for example, if you're comfortable in your job and you're comfortable in the situation, then you're okay getting that appliance because, you're like, hey, I got smooth sailing coming. If you're thinking, wow, storm clouds ahead, I'm worried about everything, then you hold off on major purchases, which is the right decision because you're just not sure and you don't want to overextend yourself. And one of the things that we've been seeing is just everyone's complaining about prices. So that's why it's so bizarre all the time when Trump says that there's no inflation. And I'm really actually quite curious what the CPI number is going to be because he recently just fired the Bureau of Labor Statistics head, right? So trying to, doesn't like the numbers, just kick out said person. And so are we going to have a CPI read that's going to be like so bonkers, like, hey guys, it's zero, and in fact, you're all doing awesome? I mean, I that's why I'm curious. And I think the market, again, is all predicting that's going to be a hot read. And I promise you, Trump will also be hot at said hot read. Also, I want to read a comment regarding the CPI reads in general. This is a really good one. This is coming in from Jay. And Jay says, Chris, I am Canadian. I worked in finance. I retired. I call CPI the great CP lie. It's pretty funny. Why? Let me ask you, when you budget, can you just not pay for energy? It lets also focus on urban living, not rural. And the excuse on energy and housing is it's too volatile. And actually, I think instead of housing, it should be food. That's okay, though. It also doesn't account for shrinkflation or quality differences. So let's say the box of cereal, and then I'll kind of explain what Jay's getting at. So a couple different things. So one would be on some of the reads, they'll include food and energy, and other reads that they won't. But it's like as a consumer, I can't really go without food and energy, so it's kind of ridiculous to take that stuff out. And the reason why they'll say that is like, oh, food and energy goes up and down all the time, so we want a more like steady read on inflation. But ultimately, you'll know the situation in your neck of the woods. There's a couple other interesting things that's going on right now as well. Is the case that they're going to make is, at least the economists are kind of predicting, goods prices will probably go up. So again, imported stuff into the country, you have tariffs on that, you're going to see costs go up. But people are also projecting that there's a possibility that services could be going down. Now, again, I ask you in your neck of the woods, for example, maybe haircuts, something like that, or to go get your oil change, whatever. Any various services, are they actually going down in price? Is that a thing? There's a couple things that could happen here. If they're going up in price, does that mean then that we're paying people more, right? So that would be one reason why they'd be going up in price, if they are. So we're going to get the reads on this. I just want to kind of go over it. If services are going down, is there a possibility that there's no demand, meaning that people don't have any disposable income to go to said places, or just the prices are too high and you just kind of hold off? So, but this is why you want to check prices, because effectively, if prices are low enough, then people start buying. If prices are too high, they stop buying, right? So according to Goldman, they're thinking that new car prices are actually declining. Used car prices are going up. There's also expecting, due to the tariffs, household furnishings will go up, recreational goods will go up, and also actually airline fares, they're expected to go up. And let's talk about gas prices. So Trump's saying they're always going down and everything's cheap. I think he even mentioned a $2 price. But this is what gas prices are according to AAA. And I want to hear from you guys if you agree with this chart. They're saying the lowest prices in the country are like $2.70, and then the higher prices are closer to like $4.50. It's going to depend on what state you're in. And according to this, the West Coast is definitely more money than the South, and you're probably feeling it for sure if you live on the West Coast. And I'm curious also if this is indeed true. In Texas, can you get gas for under $3? It looks like, you guys in the South may be one of the few, places where you can do that, but that may be due to, various regional differences and possibly differences in state taxes. This is actually from Utah. We don't talk about Utah that often, but the university did a really interesting survey out there, just talking to consumers like, what are you feeling? What are you doing this summer? So for example, they asked people, if you plan to travel this summer, what best describes your plans? So is it international trip, domestic, right? Staycation, travel within Utah, etc. I'll throw up all these numbers up here. You guys can see them yourself. But the basic idea is like, are people traveling or not? I do not plan to travel this summer was at 15%, just so give an idea of where that is. And then they ask people like, okay, how much of consideration, if at all, are the following deciding to travel in the next 3 months? And basically, it's like you ask people, costs, or they say costs, a better way to say it. Cost of airfare, right? That's a part of their decision. Inflation, gas prices, then you got availability, and then cost of living in your area you're traveling to, meaning that, what's making on your decision. And then you got this chart. I know it's focused on Australia, but it shows other countries and also the EU in there. And the basic reason is we're looking at inflation around the world, right? What's going on over there. Trump's always going to say, guys, look at other countries, look at where their interest rates are. We need to be awesome just like them. We need, cut. But it depends where your inflation's at. So the real dilemma for the Fed is if inflation's running hot, we shouldn't be cutting. We should actually keep our rates elevated, probably rates higher than inflation, okay? However, if we're facing growth problems and rising inflation due to Trump's crazy tariffs, then you're reaching stagflation, which is a really bad scenario. And that's probably where we're going. Now, theoretically, you could go into recession, depression kind of stuff. We'll get into that as as it comes up, because Trump's even tweeting about this stuff right now. And I'll just say this, the last time we did these kind of tariffs was like 100 years ago. And that was the Great Depression. That's something that we don't want to be talking about, but that's where we're at. And Trump is actually talking about Great Depression lately. We talked about it before on the channel. And then he's tweeting out this today. I am pleased to announce that I am nominating Tammy Bruce, a great patriot, okay, television personality, great, and best-selling author. Wow, it sounds like you're making a TV show. That's fantastic. As our next deputy representative of the United States to the United Nations. Oh, but the rank of ambassador. Okay. See, if you were casting a TV show, best-selling author, television personality, I think it's like Fox News, that kind of stuff, then yeah, fantastic, great TV show. But these are the kind of people that he's pointing there, and this is the kind of world that we are in. And then you have this, which is a very real possibility. Welcome to the grocery store where prices change 100 times a day, right? So this would be to keep up with Trump. So the basic idea though is that because things are so volatile and crazy all the time with the tariffs on off, on off, on off, you could have a situation where all the stores go to digital pricing, and then you can change prices across the board dynamically, and it could go up and down with the market. So I'm laughing because I think there is a world where it could be like that, where you're shopping at the grocery store, you're looking at some apples, Trump tweets out something stupid that I hate apples or whatever, tariffs go up on apples, and suddenly you're like, oh my God, apples just tripled, I'm not buying those. You put those down and you go over to the bananas and you're like, okay, I'll get bananas. And then Trump tweets out, I hate bananas, blah blah blah, and then it's like, oh my God, then the price of bananas dynamically goes up right away. I wouldn't be shocked if that's the world that we live in. Now, in the USA, there are some contentious issues with this dynamic pricing. It's not just about market. You could have stores discriminating, like say, hey, I don't like this group of people. You pay triple over that group of people, right? So those kind of things. It gets in a whole ball of a whole mess when you get into dynamic pricing. But you never know in this day and age of what Trump's going to be up to, and if we do have the technology for it. So I'd be curious: are we going to be changing grocery prices 100 times per day? Let's watch. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll catch you on the next video.